I increased organic search traffic by 50% in only 48 hours by using what I call the ranking diagnosis checklist. And in this free training, I'll show you how it works using a real life example. So a couple of things you're gonna see in this tool section, these are the various tools that you can use to conduct these particular items. Now, inside of Gotcha SEO Academy, I actually have an SOP that goes through each of these individual items. But for now, I'll give you a brief preview of what it looks like just going through this process. Okay, so I would highly recommend downloading the detailed Chrome extension. This is like really critical because we're gonna be able to go and quickly look at this page from various points. Okay, so first thing to do is like we really wanna make sure that the site is indexable and that the page is indexable and crawlable. So what we're gonna do is you go here, and once that's installed, you can literally just click the detailed Chrome extension, and then we're gonna look under robots tag right here, okay? And what I wanna see is either that it's index follow or that this is actually just blank, okay? That's really what I'm looking for. So it's either blank or it says index follow or just index. But what we don't wanna see is you don't wanna see no index, no follow, or just no index. That's a really bad thing, okay? So we wanna look here and make sure that the page is actually crawlable. And if it's crawlable, it can be indexed. And if it's indexed, it can rank, okay? So all of this other stuff isn't gonna matter if this page isn't indexable. So get that squared away first. Now we're gonna move into kind of looking at the user experience of this page. Okay, so what I wanna see is I'm gonna go here and I just wanna see how quickly does this page load. I also wanna see how good is it on mobile. Okay, so we're gonna check the mobile friendliness. Then from a security perspective, I wanna make sure that it doesn't have any security related issues. Okay, having an SSL certificate is like just a requirement at this point. So this is a good tool that really does a deep analysis of your SSL certificate just to make sure that everything is clean here, okay? Because what we're doing here with this diagnosis is it's a process of elimination. I wanna find the things that are holding us back and I wanna fix every single thing. That way I can sleep well at night knowing that we actually did that, okay? So look at this. These are still going as we're waiting here, but we'll take a look at the loading speed. So on desktop, we're at 85. For me, that's fine, right? I'm not, there's diminishing returns. Basically, once you're above an 80, you're probably not gonna see much of an improvement by going from an 80 to 100. It's just, that's more of just like a win in some people's minds, but it's not gonna produce better outcomes. Okay, so, and then in mobile, we're at a 61. Most people would be fine with this, but for me, anything below an 80, I wanna fix. So what you're gonna see here is I mark this as a fail, okay? So going through this mobile friendly, I already know it's mobile friendly, okay? So I can actually just go into here, I can look at the URL itself, and I can just kind of do this, and I can see that it's responsive, okay? It's a responsive thing. So now we're gonna keep going. Is the design modern and updated? Yes, it's modern and updated, so that's not an issue. SSL certificate working, this is going through, it's working fine here. It's gonna say that it passed already, okay? Does it have aggressive interstitial pop-ups? Does it have aggressive ad placements? And is the H1 tag above the fold? Okay, so very quickly you can answer these, right? There's no pop-ups, there's no ads that are disrupting the content, so that's all good. No issues on that front. Okay, does it have broken links? You can use the Check My Links plugin. Okay, just go in here, you click on the extension, you do check my links, and then it will scan this page and try to find broken links, okay? Broken links aren't gonna destroy your rankings, but it's still one little UX variable that could hurt the experience on the page, right? If people are struggling, trying to navigate your website, that's gonna be a real big problem. So, and then the last one is do affiliate or sponsored paid links that use the nofollow tag. This is a very common issue. I see a lot of affiliate sites or people promoting affiliate offers that just forget to add the nofollow tag, which can be a real problem. So would highly recommend doing that. Now in this case, passed all of these checks, okay? Next one is on the keyword scale, okay? We wanna make sure that this page is just optimized well from all the most important points. So when we look at this, first things first, we're gonna click on the detailed Chrome extension, and I wanna see that the keyword is in the title. And when I say the keyword, like really try to use the exact variation of that keyword. So in this case, SEO for roofers, that is the exact variation. So in the title, it is in the meta description, it is in the URL, okay? So we've hit really the most important part so far. Now we're gonna go into the headings. It's in the H1 and it's in the H2, okay? So in this case, once we get into the optimization side of this, I'll probably vary this a little bit more to be able to capture more long tail traffic. But in this case, this really passes the test. Now, the one thing this did not pass is that the keyword is not in the last sentence. So I have it here in the first sentence, which I highly recommend trying to front load that keyword in the first sentence. That way Google, when it crawls, it knows exactly what this page is about. We just have to remember that Google is, it's a machine, okay? And we have to feed the machine the right inputs. So you don't want anything to be ambiguous. So really try to be like really deliberate with where you place your primary keywords. So in all those places I mentioned, the last place is down here at the bottom, just like one more mention of it just to kind of solidify it further. So I actually hit it in the last heading, but I would also recommend probably making it kind of like the last kind of point here on the page as well. I've seen kind of varying results on it. I don't typically think it makes a huge difference, but it's just one more little extra place where you can kind of place that primary keyword one more time, just to kind of emphasize to Google one more time the relevance of this page. Okay, so all these pass, I gave it a fail in the last sentence. Now, next one is we want to look at the content. Okay, we're actually going to look at the meat of the page. So a couple things, our heading tag structured correctly. All this means is you're going to go in here and we're going to look at the page and we're just going to look at the heading structure. Okay. A proper heading structure is going to be H1 and then an H2, and then within an H2 you might have a bunch of H3s, a bunch of H4s, and then you cycle back to the H3 again, and then maybe you finish off with an H2, okay? This is proper structure, all right? What you don't want to see is like 3 H1s and then like an H5 mixed in there. Like you want to go in the logical order. Is this going to have a massive impact on your performance? Not necessarily, but one thing you have to consider is that Google crawls headings. Google will crawl headings and it assigns weight to those headings. And Google's really using headings to understand a page. And I know this as a fact because we're building a tool where we're actually, allowing you to optimize for natural language processing. And what it does is it crawls the page and it extracts the headings out of that page to understand what the page is about. So that's what Google is doing as well. Google is using NLP technology to understand a page. So your headings are critical. So I just do not underestimate that. Next thing is looking at the content. You can use Copyscape. Just make sure that the content's completely unique as far as other websites, right? We don't want to have content that's been scraped or copied in any other place. We want to make it 100% unique to our site. Another one is we want to make sure that our content is 100% unique to our website as well. So what you can do is you can go into SiteLiner, you run a crawl, go to duplicate content here, and then you just look for the URL here, okay? And what you want to see is like make sure there's no duplicate content, all right? So it doesn't show up, which means there is no duplicate content. Okay, that's good. Next thing is the word count sufficient. So I've got a lot of failing marks here, so we'll run through these real quickly. So on Surfer, what you're gonna see here is actually Surfer's claiming that I'm ranking #1, but this is not true. Like right now, the manual check, I'm not ranking #1, I'm like number 4 or 5 or something. Okay, so what you wanna do is go to the SERP Analyzer, go to Audit, and what we're gonna look for is we're gonna look to see if the word count is sufficient, okay, based on the competitors. So based on this, we can see that we're not really in range where we need to be. There's some competitors with what appears to be deeper content than us, okay? So it would make sense to probably try to hit this number just once again so we can sleep at night knowing like we did hit the appropriate word count based on what's currently ranking, okay? Does it make a huge difference, just words in general, like quantity of words? Not necessarily, but it's more the fact that we're just looking at this as one more check we can take off the list. It's like, okay, it's not that, so it must be some of these other things that's holding us back, okay? Because if you're not #1, there's something holding you back, okay? So looking at this, we're gonna add more words. We're also going to look at the NLP optimization. So what I like to do here is just see like, is there opportunity to optimize this page a little bit deeper? And just remember the point of this, the point of optimizing for, NLP or injecting keywords into the page is just to build more relevance. That's all we're trying to do. We want our page to be the most relevant page for the query. That's all we're trying to do. So what you can do is you can look at these NLP keywords and start to get a good idea of like, oh, I see. These are topics that I should have talked about, but I didn't, okay? So looking at this, there's some obvious ones like local SEO. Why did I not mention local SEO on a page about SEO for roofers? Like that's craziness. So I know I need to go through and start injecting that keyword or that topic into the content itself, okay? So it's very important. And this is the beauty of optimizing for NLP. Like don't view it as just, I need to go and, inject these keywords into the content. You need to view this as, oh, I see. I need to talk about this thing a little bit more, okay? That's a better approach. Don't worry about injection or doing some sketchy manipulative stuff. Just try to make the content deeper based on the topics that you're seeing here. Okay, and we'll talk more about that. There's some nuance here because you're going to find some topics where it might make sense to create dedicated assets to support your main asset, but I'll talk about that here in a second. Okay, now going through here, word count sufficient. I gave it a failing mark. NLP, it's not optimized as well as it could be. And then Grammarly, you want to run your content through Grammarly as well. Okay. I've seen direct correlation between just improving the quality of a page, republishing it, and rankings going up. Okay, so if it's loaded with grammar and spelling errors, that's bad for user experience. Okay, that's bad user experience. So for me, it's a 95 minimum. Okay, it has to be a minimum of 95 score for us to do a pass on this. Okay, so here I gave it a fail. So we have to go through and clean that up. Okay, next thing is looking at qualitative content analysis, okay? And what we want to do here is we just want to actually start to use our own eyeballs, our own opinion to see, like, is our content actually good from a subjective point of view? Okay, you are being subjective here. Okay, this is not a data-driven analysis. You are giving your opinion about your content. Okay, so we're going to look at my content and we're going to take a look. So based on some of these criteria. Okay, so we'll go ahead and I'll move this over. And we'll go ahead and start to look at this based on this criteria. Okay, so first one is, does the page/content satisfy the intent? Okay, so SEO for roofers, okay, it's a post that's about SEO for roofers. So I've satisfied the intent 100%, okay? And if you're not sure, the best thing to do is just open up Google, okay? You're just gonna go into Google and just do a quick search, okay? Look at what is ranking. All right, we need to see what's ranking. And based on this, what we're seeing is the first, if we exclude mine, the first top 5 results are pretty much all informational assets, okay? Which means people who are searching for this are looking for information about typically how to do SEO for roofers, right? They're not necessarily looking for a roofing SEO company, okay? That's a very different intent. People who are searching this are either, roofers who are trying to do it themselves, or other SEOs who are trying to figure out how to do SEO for their roofing client. Okay, so in this case, we can use Google to give us the perspective that we need and ultimately allow us to create the appropriate page based on the intent of that keyword. So use Google to your advantage. It's not always right, by the way, and that's a discussion for a different time. But for now, this is probably the best, your best bet for trying to make sure that you're targeting this the right way. Okay. Next one is, does the content strategy angle add unique value relative to the competitors? So all you have to do is open up your competitors and make sure that your content is clearly different than what is it ranking. Okay, we want it to feel different. We want it to be unique. Okay, this is a big mistake I see people make. You can satisfy the intent while still creating a very unique piece of content that's unique to your brand, unique to your perspective. Okay, so in this case, this is my perspective, right? All of these things are specific to my own opinions, my own experience. So all of these things make this content very unique, okay? Is the content fresh and updated? So in this case, I actually gave it a failing mark because it's not, right? January 2nd is technically, it's not updated. We're getting deep into 2023 here, or whenever you're watching this. But the point is that it's not technically up to date. So I'm going to give it a failing mark and we're going to update it and we're going to likely change the date of this post once everything's been clean. Okay. Next thing is the page readable, scannable, and easy to digest? Okay. Very quickly, you can tell this post is very scannable. Okay. We have images, we have short sentences. It has some catchy copywriting techniques. It's got it's a listicle. It's got unique images. Like this is a very good readable post. All right, it's easy for someone to quickly digest this content. That's really what we're going for, especially when it comes to informational content. It can vary depending on your market, but for most markets, it really is best to make your content easy to consume. Okay, very easy to consume. Next thing is the content. Does it have unique, high quality images and videos to break it up? Very obvious, it does. Every single image on this post is 100% unique, with the exception of a couple, but I did source that content out. Okay, so I linked to the source of the image, but everything else is content that I actually created. And this is an important point. Okay, a lot of people think about, okay, I need to make my content unique. They think about the words on the page. Okay, but that's not just it. It's not just the words on the page, but it's also the other types of content that exists. An image is content, okay? This right here is a piece of content, okay? This image here, it demonstrates something. It creates a visual understanding of a particular concept, okay? That's content, all right? Everything is content. The words, the images, the way you've structured this, the videos, like all of that. So you need to get it all squared away and it all needs to be unique, okay? It's very important. Now, the next thing is we need to, of course, tackle Google's EEAT guidelines, okay? And in this case, you know, there's only a few things you really want to tackle here. So in the case of experience is really reserved for product reviews or things of that nature, but there are some elements that you can include in your content. So what I like to do is I just like to use ChatGPT to tell me, okay? So what you can do is you go into ChatGPT and you give this nice little prompt, okay? You say, rate this content below on a scale of 1 to 10 based on this criteria. And then you just use the exact questions here, all right? So you run that through and then you paste your content in here, and then ChatGPT will give you its scores based on, based on its data, okay, what it's been fed, all right? And this will get better over time. So based on what it's told me, it gave it overall 7.6 out of 10. So room to improve. But for me, I'm only looking at a few things that really matter. So like in the case of, you know, an 8 out of 10, that's good enough. This one's a 9, but this one here is 6 out of 10, okay? This makes me think, right? So it's how well does the content share a personal experience, perspective, or feelings on a topic? Well, the content does have, this is what ChatGPT says, the content does have a personal tone, but it mainly provides actionable advice rather than delving deep into personal stories or experiences. Well, that's super valuable for me because now what I can do is I can look at this content and I can say, wow, I can actually, I should probably inject some sort of case study in here. I should inject some sort of little micro story about a roofing client that I had and how we took them from, you know, invisible to ranking #1 for their most important keyword. And hear the little, you know, the little story behind that. Okay. That adds depth to your content. That makes your content better, and it makes your content more trustworthy on top of it, okay? So use these, you know, the Google EAT guidelines to your advantage, all right? It makes, when you follow them, and of course, I don't believe everything Google says, by the way, but when you follow these concepts, it kind of forces you to make better content. It just does. It also gives you great ideas. So this one here, I gave a failing mark. How well does the content speak from a first person perspective? It says an 8 out of 10. I'll probably just, you know, give that a pass. And then this one here, you know, gave a 7 out of 10, but this is just because this isn't really a product review per se, but maybe I could inject some elements of my opinion about particular tools or particular resources in the SEO industry that a roofer may encounter, okay? So just to add a little more depth to that content. So this is just a really quick way that you can do this analysis. All right, now we're gonna keep going here. Next one is Your Money, Your Life, or EEAT. There should be an extra E here, by the way. But the one we're looking at here is mainly just looking at the expert side of this equation, the subject matter expert part of this equation. So there's just a few things you wanna look for. All right, so first we wanna see, is there an author above the fold? Okay, so author above the fold. We also wanna see that this links out to a dedicated author page. We see that there's a dedicated author page with an explanation explaining why I'm qualified to write about this topic. Okay, this is critical. It doesn't need to be a big long-winded thing. It just needs to be a short, compact thing. Really that in a few seconds, you can know that I'm qualified to write about this, okay? Or you're qualified to write about it, okay? That's the first part. Next, you wanna see, like, is there an author box? All right, go down here and there's an author box at the end that has the same exact thing, and it links out to my social media profile. So just to prove that I'm a legitimate person, okay? I'm not just some ghostwriter or some person who isn't actually an expert, okay? That's really critical. And so you just have to remember, these things on their own are not gonna produce big outcomes, but this is the beauty of this diagnosis checklist, because rankings are based on many, many variables. So for you to really rank well, you just need to literally attack every single variable. Like, stop trying to pretend like there's one variable that's gonna do the thing, or one tactic, or one hack. Like, it's just irrelevant, because what you should really do is think about, how can I get everything right? That's what I think about. I want to try to get every single little detail perfect, because then I can sleep at night knowing that we did the best job, right? So we're still going here. You know, some obvious things are sources of information cited well, and are there appropriate disclaimers? we can go here and really we don't look for is like, are we linking out to high quality sources, okay, in this content? So we're gonna look through here and I'll try to find an external link where we look out. Let's see. Okay, so I'm linking out to Backlinko, very, very trusted source in the SEO industry. And that's really what I want to do, just link out to trusted sources. And that's really all we're trying to do. Okay, nothing complicated, but add at least a few really good, external links to just increase the trust of that page a little bit more, okay? And the last thing is on the trustworthiness side, okay? And I'll be talking about the authoritativeness side. So, the equation of EEAT. So we have experience, first E here is experience. We have expertise, which we've already talked about. We have authoritativeness, which we're gonna be talking about, here in a second, and then trustworthiness. Trustworthiness is really a combination of all these things, but there are some micro variables that you do need to consider. So when we look at this, scroll down and just make sure, like, privacy policy, terms of service, just make sure you have the things that really prove that you're a legitimate brand and you're trying to protect users on your website, okay? Some other obvious things, you have an about page, a contact page, a login page for my customers, and then linking out to my social profiles. Like, this is the purpose of doing all of this, even adding my company name in here, like doing all of these things is purely designed just to, this is just to get you on the field. This is not going to massively improve your SEO performance. Like, this is just bare minimum stuff that you need to do, okay? It's like having an SSL certificate, right? It's not gonna be a huge impact on your performance, if any impact, but it's something that has to be done, okay? So that's why you need to view a lot of these factors. Some are much heavier weighted than others. Okay, so keep going through here. Now we're gonna go through technical. We'll go through this pretty quickly, but is the page using correct schema markup? So you just go right in here. You're gonna have to download the schema markup plugin here, which is Schema Builder. But if you just click on this, it will quickly scan the page and will tell you what schema it's personally marked up with. Okay, so you can look through these, make sure they're all clean. But for the most part, for an article, this is fine schema. Okay. Next thing is we want to look kind of from a more technical perspective. Now, keyword cannibalization is really important. You can go into Screaming Frog and you can look for pages. So we'll go into here real quickly. I've already done a crawl. And what I would do is I would just search like roof, okay? Go really broad. And what I want to see is like, I want to make sure there's no other pages that are targeting the specific keyword that I'm going after, okay? So this passes the test very quickly. Next thing I want to see is, while we're still here, I might as well show you, we're going to scroll over and I want to look at crawl depth. Okay, I'm going to look at two things. I'm going to look at crawl depth. I'm going to look at the amount of unique internal links going to this page. Okay, so this is just so that we're giving this page proper coverage, which means the more coverage this page has on your website, the easier it is for Google to crawl and index it and rank it. Okay, so we're going to scroll over and we're going to find the crawl depth section. Okay, we're going to look over here and this is it. Okay, crawl depth. So this is 13 levels deep. That is horrible. That's really, really bad. So what we have to do is we need to get this up to no more than 3 clicks deep. Okay, so I need to move this 10 levels up into my site. Okay, and this makes sense because I don't have a lot of content that's about roofing SEO or roofing marketing. Okay, so naturally, it's just not going to get a lot of coverage. So, and I'll be talking about how to fix that here in a second, but this needs to be fixed. Okay, so you can start looking like right now and start looking for internal linking opportunities and that are higher up in your architecture. You can do that, or, which I'll be showing you in a second, is we probably need to create more content. Okay, so the next thing is looking at in links. All right, this column here is really important. Unique in links. This is how many internal links are going to this page. Okay, so you can go down here and click on in links and you can see specifically where it is getting internal links. Now, what I'm seeing here is, this is not really what I want to see, okay? Because it doesn't really have any real internal links. It just has archive links. Okay, this is a blog archive. This is an author archive. That's not what we want. We want to see like actual pages that are internally linking to this post. Okay, so at this point, I already know I need to create more topically relevant content to support this page. Just by looking at this, I know this as a fact, okay? So go back over here to the checklist. Pretty much all of these gotta fail. And then the next one here is we're gonna go into co-schedule, all right? And we wanna see, well, first, actually, before you even do that, go into Google Search Console, okay? And you're gonna look at the, search for the page here in Google Search Console. What we wanna look for is the CTR, all right? This post or this page has a horrible CTR, okay? And that's for a variety of reasons. It could be because of ranking, right? One of the biggest ways to improve your CTR is, by no surprise, just increase your rankings, okay? So it's sitting about, roughly 4 SEO for roofers, which is the main keyword. So by going from 4 to number 1, that will likely double the CTR or more, right? Just like guaranteed, just because being number 1 gets roughly 30% of all CTR on queries. Okay, so just by going up positions without changing anything else, CTR will go up. But I'm not usually satisfied with that because there's, you want to keep trying to improve. So what I would do is I would also think about how can I make this title more click worthy, okay? And there's ways to do that. So you can go into schedule or into co-schedule, click on this, and you run your title through here, and it's going to give you a score, okay? And you can start to come up with different title ideas to improve this title and ultimately test it. You can also use ChatGPT as well, right? So you could just take this right here, you go into ChatGPT and say, create 10 clickable title ideas for SEO for this keyword, okay? And it will come up with a bunch of different ideas for you. I said this keyword, it's not really a keyword, but it understands what you will say. And you can start to look at these different ideas and you could certainly test these different ideas, all right? What you don't want to do is just go and start changing your stuff without actually being able to test it appropriately. So what you want to do is actually go to SEOtesting.com, okay? You go to SEOtesting.com and you can start to run tests. Now we're going to go to topic authority. This one's really easy. We've basically already know this, but if you weren't sure, you can just go into Google and do a site colon search. So what I'll do is I'll go really broad. So I'll do, just roof, okay? And I want to see have I ever written about any other content regarding, SEO and roofers or marketing and roofers or anything like that, okay? And the answer is no. I have not created anything other than this one blog post, so I fully expect there's no reason I should be number 1 for this. I haven't proven that I'm an expert in the field of roofing and SEO. Okay, I have not proven that based on what we're seeing here. So if you're Google and you're scanning my site and you're crawling my site and this is it, am I really an expert on SEO for roofers? I mean, I'm an SEO, maybe you could call me an SEO expert broadly, but specifically for roofers, that's up for debate, right? And so we want to make this more clear is the point. All right, so I gave myself a failing mark. Next one is now we're going to look at links. Okay, so it's funny, all these things. Funny thing is if you clean all this up, usually the link building side will work itself out. You may not need as many links as you think, but still links are one of the biggest ranking factors, so we cannot ignore it. All right, so what you can do is you just literally go into Ahrefs and start to look at your top competitors. All right, and a couple of things I want to see. I think I mentioned this in the beginning of the video, but we're looking at DR. Okay, DR is the most important part here because if your site is not authoritative enough, it's going to be difficult to beat very strong websites. So like WebFX, they're a DR of 88. Okay, that is very large. Okay, so even for me, that's a gap. That's a big gap I have to narrow. So even if I did everything here well, and I tackled every single other variable, technically I should still not be unhappy if I don't beat them, because until I get to a DR 88, they're really I should not beat them. That's just a fact. I'm not as authoritative as them. I'm not as trustworthy as them because my links do not prove that. Okay, their links do. All right, their links do. So this is why I think it's so funny when people get so upset about not ranking. But if you haven't narrowed these gaps, then you have no reason to be sad about your rankings. You have to narrow these gaps. Now, on the opposite side of this, I have 2 competitors that are weaker than me, that are beating me. Okay, that's not okay. that needs to be fixed. Okay, so I'm beating them on DR. So I know if I'm beating them on DR that I'm losing somewhere else. They're beating me somewhere else, and I need to figure out what that is. Okay, now one of them is just right looking at this, I can tell. Number 3 result, we've got a very, very relevant domain, okay? It looks like these guys are just roofing focused, okay? Man, this is gonna be a hard one to beat, okay? I'll tell you right now, this will be a hard business to beat because even though their DR is lower than mine, I technically have more authority, they have more relevance. And these days, relevance wins. relevance is so critical. In fact, I think relevance can beat out DR a lot of the time, you know, if all things are equal, okay? So I will try to beat this person, but I'm just telling you, this is when you see this, it's not going to be easy, right? Because they have that domain level relevance, which can be tough to beat, but you can be overcome by better link building and maybe better content, okay? So that's what I'm looking at as DR. And then next is looking at domains, okay? So do we have enough referring domains going specifically to this page to rank, all right? And the answer is yes. From a quantity basis, we have enough going to this specific page. So to me, this doesn't seem really like a link building problem, in my opinion, okay? Now, if you want to get really granular with this, you can go and start looking at the specific links that we have. So like if I look here at the backlinks, I want to see like, do I have high quality links, right? So we'll sort it by domain traffic. And like, do I have some good links going to this page? Yeah, these are some solid links. Do I have links from roofing marketing blogs though? I don't. So I could argue that maybe these aren't the most relevant links and maybe I should increase the relevance of my link profile going to this specific page, okay? So, you know, it's not just about getting links that have good DR and good domain traffic. It's also about getting links that are hyper relevant to that page, okay? So there's room to improve here. I gave myself a pass, but if I'm really being honest, I'd probably say as far as relevance, I'd probably give it a failing mark. So I'll actually go ahead and mark this as a fail, to be honest. Okay, so that's basically it. So then of course, you can analyze anchor text profile. That's another thing. We'll go over here. You can just look at anchors. And basically we want to see like, is the anchor text profile optimized? Is it relevant? Right now it is pretty relevant. It's not super over optimized because at this small of a scale, it's nothing to be concerned about. But if you had like 300 links, all with SEO for roofers, you're probably going to get penalized, okay? So, but at this scale, it's not a concern. And then the last thing here is once you've gone through this whole checklist, we want to go through and we want to actually look at Google search results. Okay, this is important. You want to see, are there SERP features here that we can take advantage of? All right, so we'll look right here. I'll go ahead and split this and we'll do an incognito window, do SEO for roofers. And we're going to go over here. And what I want to see is like, what is showing up in these search results right now? All right, and very quickly, we can see a few things. Number one, there's a featured snippet. And number two, there's a people also ask. So we have two SERP features that are above the fold, and we have an advertisement as well. Okay, so we actually have over here, we can go ahead and mark this up here. So now you can see we have Google ads showing here, we have a featured snippet, and we have people also ask. So this is really critical to have this information because we shouldn't just be thinking about like, how do we improve our rankings of our one page? We should be thinking about how do we occupy more real estate on this one particular page, on this one particular search result, okay? So for SEO for roofers, I don't wanna just improve this page and get it up to, the featured snippet. I wanna be in the featured snippet. I probably wanna run an ad if roofers are my target market, which they aren't, but if it was, I'd run an ad. I would, I'd want to get in the featured snippet. I'd also want to show up in the people also ask as well, okay? I want to just flood this particular page with as many of my assets as possible. Now, if you want to get a little bit deeper, I don't want to get too crazy here, but if you really wanted to get crazy, and let's say roofers were your target market, like that was the agency that you wanted to build, you're going to do SEO for roofers, you're going to live and breathe roofing SEO, okay? What I would do is I would start to think about how I can even add some parasite SEO into here, okay? I'd start looking at roofing blogs and I would write content on those roofing blogs and I would rank the pages on those roofing blogs on the first page. Because then when someone lands on that page, it's actually, I'm the author again, and then I'm gonna flow those leads back to my agency. Okay, so that's what I'd start to be thinking about, start to play some chess here in the SEO game. But for now, focus on the main page, okay? So what we've done here is we've gone through, and I'll go ahead and zoom out so you can see this. We've gone through and we have analyzed literally every single variable that could affect our rankings, okay? And once again, this page, by most standards, most people who would see this content would probably say, this is a pretty good piece of content, okay? It's like a solid 7 out of 10, right? By my standards, but still, it's a decent piece of content. But the point is like, even a piece of content that's decent, there's so much opportunity to make it better. Okay. And so for me, when I analyze this, I really see a couple key variables that are going to make a huge difference for this keyword. And if I could just pick one, like if I could just pick one thing that I could do to improve the performance, my mind directly goes to building more topic authority. Okay, that is where I go, because I think about it. I need to make it abundantly clear to Google that I am the authority on SEO for roofers. I need to make that clear. So how do you do that? Okay, so let's talk about how we can actually go about doing that, building more topic authority. All right, so what I do is actually go into Surfer. All right, we're gonna go into Surfer and I export these keywords out, okay? Because this is already telling us everything we need to know. These are all the relevant concepts that we need to probably create deeper assets about. Okay, so when you think about this SEO for roofers page is what I would consider like a catch-all topic. Okay, it's talking about a lot of different things, but it's not really going deep in one particular subtopic. Okay, so SEO for roofers is a broad topic. Like SEO in general as a topic is very big. Okay, so what I would do is I would start to break this down, and I'd start to break it down into little micro assets that can support this main asset. As a result, the more micro assets you build around your mother asset, the more internal links you get, the better coverage you get, and ultimately when Google crawls that and sees, your overall authority in that one little pocket keeps growing. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So what I do is I export from Surfer. I also, extract ideas from people also ask. And then we put it in here into this little sheet here. And what I do is I just start to dig through these and look for opportunities that could require its own dedicated asset. Okay, so I'll zoom in here. So for me, local SEO, clearly I need to just inject local SEO into this main asset. There's no reason to create a dedicated asset for it because basically there's really not a whole lot of roofers who are trying to rank nationally. Like that's not really a thing. There may be some roofing like blogs, but realistically, this is going to be a local SEO focus. So that's probably just going to be optimized on the same page. But when I start to look at this, I want to see some other stuff. So like roofing websites, okay? That's an opportunity for me to create a dedicated page. And how do I know that? So I take this, and I think I showed you this before, but use Google to your advantage. All right, go to Google. We're just going to type, roofing websites. All right, and what do we see? We see an entirely different set of search results. It's not even close. So when we compare this to, we'll go ahead and compare this one to, we'll do incognito window here. So we'll compare this to SEO for roofers, okay? SEO for roofers. And what you're gonna see here is side by side, there is no comparison. These are totally different search results. So what I see, okay, I need to create a dedicated page for this idea, all right? And then right away, within a day after we create this, now we've built one little extra arm that now supports our mother asset. And we know it's hyper relevant. We know that for a fact that it's hyper relevant because that's the data that Google has already given us, okay? So let's actually go back here, and you'll see roofing websites, we know it's NLP related. That means it's directly related to that core idea. Okay, so what I do is I just keep going through here and looking for additional opportunities to create more supporting assets. Okay, and funny thing is, like, of all the stuff you could do based on this ranking diagnosis, like, you could technically not do any of this and just focus on building more topic authority by creating new content. And that will probably have the impact you're looking for just by doing that alone, okay? Because it influences so many other variables that just doing that will probably get you the result that you're looking for. But for me, once again, I want to see that all of these pass. I want to have a passing grade on all of these. And I can tell you, I've never, ever gone through this checklist, fixed every single thing, and not seen an improvement in rankings. It just does not happen because these are pretty much every variable that you can tackle. There's some micro variables, but for the most part, this is pretty much it. Okay, so go through the checklist, and then what we're gonna do is you're just gonna create an action plan based on all this stuff that you found. Okay, so what I do is create a little simple Google Doc here, and you can see it's very simple. All right, we just have an SEO action plan, SEO for roofers. I put the action in here. So I turn the question into an action. and I make it very specific, right? We need to have specific actions. I put the benchmark, right? So like what are the specific benchmarks? If you go out to ranking diagnosis, I have a benchmark for the rankings and the date that it was tracked. So it's ranking number 4. And this is just good so you can keep track of what you're doing, okay? Benchmarks, and then as I go through here and I start to assign this in progress, now I'm going to put the new score, in this case of Google PageSpeed Insights. Let's say now it's a 90. Okay, so now it's a 90. So now I can see here and say, okay, this is done, right? So completed, boom. We know that the page is fast now. We don't need to be concerned about that anymore. We're done with that. Now we need to move on to the next one. And we just keep tackling each individual thing until it's all fixed. Okay, this is what has to be done, right, to really get good SEO. Now, the other thing is, take the featured snippet. I pulled the featured snippet directly. I actually copied it from the search results and put it in here because to capture that featured snippet, you basically need to model what's already ranking. So I'll create my own featured snippet and I will model how they did it. Okay, so they have a nice little headline and then a nice little description. So I'm going to write a description that has basically a similar word count. I'll probably create a similar heading like this, and then I'll try to steal that featured snippet. Okay, so go through each of these. And then the last one, like I mentioned, is the supporting content. Okay, I have, let's see, we have 5, 10, roughly 15 ideas here. Okay, 15 different ideas that all have different intent. Okay, and all require their own dedicated assets. So the goal here is we're going to rank for these really long tail ideas, these kind of really micro concepts, and you still will get traffic and it'll be hyper relevant traffic. But also the purpose is to lift our mother asset as well, right? So we're getting just kind of this broad, we're casting a wide net to make it clear to Google that we are the pros when it comes to SEO for roofing.